Good morning everybody. We are going to start with the second chapter of history of 10th standard, that is nationalism in India. The second chapter, which is mentioned in your history textbook, is not there in the syllabus. So we are considering nationalism in India as the second chapter. Now in the first chapter of history you have already studied about nationalism in Europe. And we studied that nationalism in Europe were because of two reasons. Either nationalism came because of struggle or because of romantic nationalism. In this chapter, we are going to study about nationalism in India. So, in India, the nationalism was related to anti-colonialism. In India, when the British were ruling, that is during the colonial period, many people suffered. Different section of people had different problems during the British period. So the idea that all of them are being suppressed under a common rule gave them an inspiration to unite together and to fight for a common cause. But everybody had different problems and everybody suffered in different ways. So Mahatma Gandhi tried to unite all different sections of people under one movement. But even then it was not without conflict. So let us study the history of nationalism in India after 1914. As all of you know that the First World War started in 1914 and ended in 1918. Now during this war period, Britain fought war with many countries and India was also involved. So the war expenditure was very much during the First World War. Now to cope up with this war expenditure, the British government increased the taxes in India. The custom duties were already existing in India, so the amount of custom duty was increased and a new tax called income tax was introduced in India. Then at that time the harvest was not good, there was food shortage, people were not getting enough wages during the war period. So people were also facing, because of food shortage, low wages, and during the war so many people lose their life. So the British required lot of people in army also. So people were taken from Indian villages to be recruited in the army. And even if the people are not willing, they forcefully recruited them in the army. So forceful recruitment took place during the time of the First World War. And to add to the problems of India, at the same time an influenza epidemic also attacked India. All these reasons, food shortage, increase in taxes, forced recruitment and influenza epidemic together took toll of life. So many people in India died because of so many problems. Now during that time, to liberate them from the problem, Mahatma Gandhi emerged. Mahatma Gandhi returned from South Africa in the year 1915. There he has fought against the racist regime, and first time he introduced the policy of mass struggle in South Africa, and there successfully he has gained that mass struggle. So he introduced that policy of mass struggle in India also. When in 1915 Gandhiji came to India and he saw so many problems occurring in India, he decided to follow a policy of satyagraha. So now let us see what is the idea of Gandhiji's satyagraha. According to Gandhiji's satyagraha, emphasis should be laid on the power of truth. So according to him, emphasis should be laid on truth. Then if the cause was true and the struggle was against injustice, then physical force was not necessary to win the oppressor. This is what he has tried in South Africa. So according to him, if you are true, you need not to be afraid of anybody. So if your cause is true and your struggle is against injustice, then no need of using the physical force. Without seeking vengeance, that means without taking revenge, you can win the battle by non-violence. Then he emphasized that one should appeal to the conscience of the oppressor. That means we should make him realize what is truth, and this way he can stop his oppressive policies. And oppressor has to be persuaded to see the truth. I'll tell you an example regarding this. Gandhiji used many methods during the freedom struggle, and one was picketing of liquor shops. And in one of the Premchand's story, Premchand has written about a person called Maku. So Maku was a person who used to drink liquor every time. So once Gandhiji's followers picketed a liquor shop and they did not allow people to enter the liquor shop. But the shop owner decided to give free liquor to all the people. So all the people went into the liquor shop, including Maku. He was also a drunkard. So when he was entering into the liquor shop, there were so many satyagrahis who stopped him. But Maku was very angry and he slapped one of the satyagrahi and entered into the shop and drank liquor. But that satyagrahi did not utter a single word. He just persuaded him not to drink liquor. After drinking liquor, when Maku came out of the liquor shop, the same satyagrahi once again stood in front of him and again requested him not to drink in future. When Maku looked at the face of the satyagrahi, he found that the slap which he gave him on his cheek, the 5 fingers of Maku were there, the mark of the 5 finger was there on the face of the satyagrahi. Maku was very much moved. He saw that even after having so much of he showed violence towards the satyagrahi, but the satyagrahi did not utter a single word and he did not give a slap back to Maku. So this way the satyagrahi knew that he was true. So he, without seeking vengeance, the satyagrahi without seeking revenge, he win the battle by non-violence. And Maku was so moved that he decided not to drink liquor in future. So he was moved by the policy of non-satyagraha by that worker. So this is what Gandhiji always emphasized, that if you are true, if you are against injustice, you need not to be afraid of anybody. So this is the policy of satyagraha which was followed by Mahatma Gandhi. So in 1915, when Mahatma Gandhi returned from South Africa, he followed the policy of satyagraha. Then immediately in 1916, he led a movement in Champaran. Champaran is a place in Bihar where indigo plantation was going on, and the indigo planters forced the common people or the farmers to grow indigo in their field, which was not liked by the indigo cultivators. So the peasants do not want to cultivate indigo. So they called Gandhiji to take the leadership, and Gandhiji led a satyagraha in 1916 against the plantation owners, indigo plantation owners, and in that satyagraha Gandhiji was successful. Then in 1917, the people of Kheda district in Gujarat were suffering under heavy tax burden, and due to crop failure they were not able to give tax to the British, but the British were forcing tax over the people of Kheda. So Gandhiji was called to help them. Gandhiji took a satyagraha in 1917 against the tax collectors and against the British, and in that satyagraha he asked the Kheda peasants not to give tax to the British, and in that satyagraha also Gandhiji won. Then in 1918 in Ahmedabad there was cotton mill, and the workers in the cotton mill were facing problem. They were not given salary for a long time. So this cotton mill workers problem was also represented by Gandhiji, and a satyagraha was organized in Ahmedabad, and he won that also. So immediately after coming to India in 1915, he organized 3 continuous satyagraha, in 1916 at Champaran, in 1917 at Kheda, in 1918 in Ahmedabad, and he could win all the 3 satyagrahas. In this way, he earned a lot of respect among the people of India. After the 3 successful struggles by Gandhiji in 1916, 1917 and 1918, let us see what happened in 1919. In the year 1919, an act was passed by the British Imperial Legislative Council, and the name of that act was Rowlatt Act. According to that act, anybody can be imprisoned if they are found doing any bad practices against the British government. That means they have the right to arrest any political prisoner. So to repress these political activities by the common people, they have passed this act so that the people will not be included in anything against the government. They will not be involved in anything against the British government. So to repress the political activities or to stop the political activities in India, they passed the Rowlatt Act. And the second provision of the Rowlatt Act was that it allowed detention of prisoners without trial for 2 years. That means if anybody is arrested by the British, they will not be presented in the court and they will be kept in jail for 2 years. So this was an act which was against humanity, because according to rule, if anybody is arrested, they should be presented in front of the magistrate immediately. But to stop the political activities in India, this Rowlatt Act was passed. So this Rowlatt Act was not at all liked by the people. So people started agitating against the Rowlatt Act. So when Gandhiji came to know about this, he decided to start a satyagraha against the Rowlatt Act. So Gandhiji said that he will start the satyagraha on 6th April, and on 6th April, Hartal was organized in the country against Rowlatt Act. So in this Hartal, rallies were organized, then workers went on strike, and the people disrupted the railway stations and all, etc. So when Hartal was organized, so the British feared that the Indians may destroy the railways and the post office. So they decided to clamp down or to suppress these people who were participating in the satyagraha. And to clamp down the nationalists, what did the British do? They picked up the local leaders, because these are the local leaders who are organizing the protest. So they picked up the local leaders, especially from Amritsar. They picked up the local leader, and Gandhiji was banned from entering Delhi. So basically Rowlatt Act was passed in 1919. According to this act, anybody can be imprisoned and kept in jail without trial for 2 years. And to oppose this Rowlatt Act, Gandhiji started a satyagraha which is called as Rowlatt Satyagraha. And when this Rowlatt Satyagraha was continuing, the British picked up the local leaders of Amritsar, and Gandhiji was stopped from entering into Delhi. Then, not satisfied with only picking up the leaders, on 10th April, a peaceful procession fired in Amritsar. So people in Amritsar was following a peaceful procession, and that peaceful procession was fired by the British, which was illegal because the people of Amritsar were not involved in any violent activity. So it was illegal to fire upon them, but the British did it. Now the people became angry, so there was widespread attacks by Indians on the banks, post office, railway stations. All these were the British institutions. Banks, post office and railway offices were the British institutions. So Indians attacked these areas. So when Indians came into violence, when the Indians revolted, the British applied or imposed martial law in the country. Martial law means it is like a curfew where military rule is there, and people cannot move easily outside, and they are not allowed to form groups and roam outside. So martial law was imposed, and since martial law means it is a military rule, so the head of the military takes the command. So at that time, General Dyer was the military commander, so he took the charge. Now the whole area of Punjab, Delhi and nearby places were under the control of General Dyer. Now since there is a place called Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar, so it is said that the people of Jallianwala Bagh did not come to know about the people living near Jallianwala Bagh did not come to know about the martial law being imposed. So on 13th April, these people of Amritsar, they gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh to discuss about the repressive policies of the British and also to celebrate Baisakhi. But the Jallianwala Bagh area, the gathering of the people in Jallianwala Bagh area was against law because martial law was imposed. It is said that the Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar is such a place where there is only one entrance. So when General Dyer came to know about the people gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh, he took his army, he blocked the entry gate, and he asked his army to fire upon the innocent people. According to rule, first they should be warned, the people who are gathered should be warned, they should be allowed to go out of the gathered area, and if they do not do, then only they should be fired. But here General Dyer started firing without giving any warning. So many people died in this attack. Many were men, women, children also. So many people lost their lives in Jallianwala Bagh. So that is why this incident is unpopularly known as Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Massacre means killing of so many people together. So General Dyer was the main culprit behind the Jallianwala Bagh massacre.